Kyle Daukaus, who returns to action on the 19th of February, where he'll be facing Julian, the Cuban Missile Crisis Marquez. Kyle, great to sit down and chat. How are things with you today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again, man. Appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine. Let's talk first and foremost about the upcoming fight. As I mentioned, you'll be facing Julian Marquez, who's had quite a good run the last 12 months or so. What are your opinions on him as an upcoming opponent?
He's a great fighter. I think he's a great fighter. He's a great opponent. He's kind of he's a very tough guy. He's a tough guy to get out of there. We've seen in his last couple of fights that he can take a beating for 2 rounds and still win the 3rd round and come back and get the victory. But yeah, his last fight against Sam Alvey was a little bit smarter than he was against his former opponents. He's very aggressive coming forward, but I plan on meeting him in the middle of the octagon and seeing who takes the first step backwards. So
I can only presume, because what you referenced there about taking a beating and then coming back, that perhaps you're taking some part out of the Maki Pitolo fight, where he did kind of suffer a little bit of a rough time, but then got the submission at the end.
Yes, yeah. I watched that fight a lot because I am a southpaw as well. So Pitolo kind of came out of there as southpaw, and Pitolo was very active as a southpaw too, and it seemed to kind of disrupt Julian's game a little bit. So I plan on getting out there and getting aggressive from the very beginning, and kind of not really mimicking the same thing that Pitolo did, but just taking the advantages that I saw in that fight and in Alvey's fight as well. That because Alvey was a southpaw as well. So his last 2 fights were very good for me to study and very good for me to just take mental notes and practice in the gym.
I don't envisage fighting anyone at a UFC level or even an MMA level, because presumably, especially at 185, you all hit relatively hard.
Yes.
The nickname, the Cuban Missile Crisis. What is the thought of facing the perhaps daunting power of Marquez in the next fight?
Yeah, I just think he has good knockout power. I think, although I think I not that I throw a lot of power in my hands, but I think I have the advantage everywhere in the fight. I think I have the superior advantage in the grappling and the cage work. But I look forward to kind of testing my skills against him come February.
I want to talk about the upcoming fight in relation to the last fight, the Kevin Holland fight, because I think when you look at the 2 opponents, they're very, very different in styles. In terms of Kevin's quite sniper-like boxing, kickboxing style, and Julian's more wild one-punch knockout. I guess, what is it like fighting such contrasting strikers back to back?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's the name of the game. It's the nature of the beast that we have, right? There, no guy in this sport is the same. Everybody has a different style, and it's just about you training and adjusting your style to theirs. But from my mental standpoint, I don't adjust my style to my opponent's style. I try to focus on making them adjust to me. Yeah. So the last fight, I kind of came out there a little aggressive. I felt like I was very aggressive, press forward the whole time. And the only thing I'm going to take from that last fight was that I have to be aggressive again and push forward this fight. I can't let my back be on the cage. I can't just lean there. I can't stay still. I have to make sure that I'm moving and make sure that I'm keeping my hands up and just fighting smart. As long as I fight smart, I know I can beat anybody.
You've been a bit of correct me if I'm wrong, but a bit of a strange period last 6 months or so in your career, because you had the Holland fight and then you had a couple of cancelled fights in November, the Holland rematch, and then Roman's Elite. So what have the last 6 months been like for Kyle Daukaus?
It's been wild. But I think all of last year for me, like based off of everything from my fight in May, my fight in April that got canceled, and then I fought Hawes in May and lost, and then the whole thing. And after that, actually after my Hawes fight, I got a bad staph infection in my eye, so I had to get that taken care of. So I was out for a little bit. And then the Kevin Holland fight, it was kind of all over the place. My whole situation was all over the place, but I'm just looking forward to 22 and just getting after it. Those things have happened for a reason, and those things are just things that I have to kind of flush out of my mind. I can't just dwell on everything that's happened in the past year. I have to look forward to Julian in what was it, like 4 weeks. So yeah, my sole focus right now is just Julian in 4 weeks.
How do you look back on the Holland fight? There's been a lot said about it. There's been a lot said about Kevin Holland more generally. So obviously your fight. So how do you look back on that first round no contest?
It is what it is. it's a no contest, and that's what it is. I can't keep dwelling on the past. I can't keep worrying about, other things that have happened and what he's saying now or what everybody else is saying now. I have to just move forward. I have to flush it down the toilet and just move forward and not worry about it.
Opinions on the upcoming title fight in your division? Israel Adesanya facing off against Robert Whittaker in the rematch.
I don't know. I think it's a tough one. I think it's good that like Adesanya said, it's good that Whittaker has kind of admitted that he got into his head, because this fight's going to be a lot tougher, I believe. I think it's going to be a good 5-round fight, and I mean, I'm pushing for Whittaker to win, but you never know.
You never know is correct. Let's talk a little bit about your brother. Your older, is it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Chris your older brother?
Yeah, he's older.
He is. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure. I just had a little bit of a mental freeze there. Chris, your older brother. First and foremost, how much do you guys train together? Because obviously there's a reasonable bit of weight between you two. How much do you weigh with Chris?
Since we've started, we've probably worked every single day, multiple times a day. We've worked together. So we're always in the gym together. We're always training. My, sole drilling partner is him because I can trust him and everything like that. Sorry, it's my dog.
He's the other sole training partner.
he's the other guy, this big boy. And but he's been my number one training partner since I started training, and since this whole thing has gone, and he's envisioned the same thing that I've envisioned of getting to the UFC and becoming a champion one day. And now that we're here, we just have to work towards our next goal, and that's just getting in there and getting the belt wrapped around our waist eventually. What's
it like being in the UFC with a brother? Because obviously we always think about the old analogy of kids going through school with brothers and all of that. So what is it like being in the toughest sport in the world and having a brother right beside you?
It's something that is very inexplainable to other people to kind of like put out there in the words. But my brother and I we were kind of like in between ages. So he's 3.5 years older than me, but for school wise, he's 4 years. So when he was graduating high school, I was going into high school. Yeah. So we never really like hung out with the same crowd or anything like that. But playing sports and stuff like that, we always played sports. We were always together. So we always knew that, there was always something more for myself. I never really worked, like an actual job. I did like a little manual labor here and there. I worked at like food stores and stuff like that, but my sole mindset has always been fighting, and his has always been fighting as well, but he's always been steps ahead of me. He's had a family, he's got kids now. So that's always been a thing that kind of, I feel like I've been in front of him now. But now we're kind of like evenly matched up because he's a full-time fighter now, he's not working anymore. So yeah, it's just something that we've always envisioned. It's something that our family's always envisioned as well. But it's very surreal to explain and kind of, put into words. But it's something that we've always thought that not that we thought, but we always knew that we would be here. And telling people that you're a professional fighter and that your brother's a professional fighter as well, and that you're in the UFC, and people are like, oh, like on the TV, and you're like, yeah, like I'm not like high up on the rankings yet, but eventually we will be. And it's just great. It's amazing.
I can only presume that it would have been a very proud moment for the Daukaus family, seeing that headlining spot back in December. What was that like for you as a clan and as a family?
It was crazy to seeing him on the posters and seeing the signage and seeing all the publicity he was getting. But I think that after his last fight with Shamil that he had, he was getting pictures done, and they were already asking us to fight Derek. Like that's how quick this thing goes. Yeah. And we weren't sure if it was going to be a main event or not, but we knew Derek was a big name, so we figured it was going to be a main event. Just we weren't sure if it was going to be at Apex or in front of people and whatnot. But it's wild. It's wild to think about. And my last fight, I was co-main event, so this whole thing is it's bananas, and it's something that like physically or like mentally it doesn't change your perspective or like going in there and being a co-main event or main event, it's not like a bigger deal as far as like fighting wise, because it's just another fight for that night. And that's all it is. It just so happens that the event ends after that last fight, and that's about it. But people build it up to be something that it shouldn't be. But when we take a step back and look from the outside, it is very, very wild to think about.
You may have never thought about this, so this is a bit of a strange question, but obviously that we know notoriously the heavyweight rankings are a lot shallower than probably the middleweight rankings.
Yes.
So do you envy
Yeah.
Chris a little bit? Because he's probably got a slightly, obviously the heavyweight boys hit a little bit harder, but he's probably got an easier run to that title.
I believe so. I mean, that's just how the divisions play out. I believe that, that division it's getting better though throughout the years. It's gotten better. The fighters are advancing very well. They're not all just knocking each other out or anything like that. We saw in the Ngannou fight that he wrestled and took it to the ground, and I don't think anybody expected that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think now that it's changing. The heavyweight division is changing just based off of the fighters. We have younger guys are coming up. They're very well rounded, and it's only going to get tougher and tougher, which is great because it's easy just to go out there and knock somebody senseless, but to actually game plan and actually have a strategy going into the fight, it just makes it better. For guys like in my division, I believe that we're like the perfect medium in between like strength and speed. So that we have a great amount of guys that have power and speed, and we can knock you out, we can submit you, we can wrestle you, we have a great cardio and everything like that. So I think my division is one of the toughest divisions that are in the UFC right now.
In terms of probably as an athlete, this might be a strange way to characterize it, but in terms of an athlete, in terms of getting that height and that size, probably is the bigger size of welterweight, and then probably middleweight, where the peak athletes are probably going to reside, if you like.
Yeah. I think that these guys are big. These guys are really big, and like even myself, like I'm a lot bigger than I think I am. Like physically, my frame is, and I think it's just like every division right now, we're all kind of peaking in a way, and it's great to see.
Yeah, 100%. Where did the Daukaus brothers rank on the current pound for pound siblings list?
Oh, I have no idea. There's so many of them. I mean, the best guys the best well-known guys are the Diaz brothers, right?
Yeah.
Who else? Burns brothers. They're very decent. Who else? Who's the guy at Bellator?
Pettis?
No, the welterweight at Bellator. Oh man, I can't think of him. Lima. Yeah, him and his brother are very good. And again, Pettis is very good. I think we're top 10. In my opinion, we're top 10. If I continue to if I just go out there and keep winning, my brother goes out there and keeps winning, it only builds our stock. So yeah, eventually we'll be number one.
Do you know? Presumably you do. Do you know Jonathan Haggerty, the Muay Thai fighter?
Yes. I see a lot of his videos.
So I had Jonathan on my show a couple of months ago, and he's got a younger brother, Freddie. Freddie's 16, and he talked about how he gets more nervous for when Freddie fights than he does his own world title fight. So do you get more nervous for your own fights or for when you're seeing your brother Chris in there?
Honestly, I get more nervous when I'm fighting.
Okay, honestly, appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, and my brother is very nervous when I fight as well. He doesn't shut up in the locker room. He's very antsy and stuff like that when I'm fighting, and I'm very calm to myself. When he's fighting, I know the hard work that he's putting in. I know the potential that he has to go out there and beat the guys. He just has to go out there himself and perform. And anything that I do in the locker room, anything that I tell him in the locker room is going to be good and it's going to be fine and stuff like that. But it's on him. And the same thing, vice versa. Like my brother can hype me up all he wants in the locker room and whatnot. He can say I'm the best and all that stuff, but I have to go out there and perform. And I think that's why I get so nervous, is because not only are you fighting in front of thousands of people, but you're at the top of the heap of the divisions, and you're in the UFC, and losing in the UFC it's not good, especially with a record like me with 1-2. My next fight could potentially be my last. It all depends on the situations that occur. But you just have to go out there and perform and not really hype each other up, I don't think.
Yeah, you mentioned there being 1-2 and being very early in your career, but yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but look at some of the names: Kevin Holland, Phil Hawes, Julian Marquez. You seem to be right at the top end of this middleweight division relatively quickly.
I agree. I do believe that I'm at the top end of the divisions that are unranked. I believe that if I wholeheartedly go out there and finish Julian Marquez in a very dominant fashion, that my next fight could be a ranked opponent. You know, I did just fight a number 15 guy in my last fight, and that kind of went south. And then he went down to 170. So the numbers have switched. I do have my eyes on a lot of the number guys, though. Like, I'm not going to, you know, beat around the bush or anything like that. But I have my eyes on these guys. But then again, I can't solely be focused on those guys, because the guys that I'm fighting in the cage now determine whether or not I fight those guys. So I have to go out there and just beat these guys now, and then eventually the numbers will come. I mean, it doesn't matter if I fight 15, 14, or 13 or whatever, whoever they put, or even unranked guys, whoever they put on the line, I'm going to sign it and fight. So it doesn't matter to me if I don't fight another ranked guy for 3 or 4 fights. It's not with me, because I'm also getting experience in the cage too. So that's always good as well.
You mentioned their experience on the cage. Do you feel like to a certain extent you're learning on the job in your early part of your UFC career?
I believe so, yeah. But I am getting more comfortable with every single time that I go out there. You know, the only thing that I'm not really a fan of is that I've only known the Apex. So I have yet to fight in front of fans. My brother fighting in front of fans was wild, because I was in his corner. It's something that I've always, you know, envisioned when I do fight in the UFC. I'm going to be fighting in front of fans, but you know, the pandemic and everything had kind of threw this south. But yeah, I do believe I'm learning on the fly when I'm in there. But again, it's just more so getting my feet wet and just getting comfortable with the situations. The last fight that I had, I was probably the most confident, the most comfortable in the cage that I could have possibly been. And I plan on doing the same thing in February. You know, I'm going to be cool, calm, and collected throughout the whole fight week and everything like that. And when I go out there and perform, you know, it's going to be a great performance, I believe.
There seems to be a real disparity between probably fighters who've been signed the last 12, 18 months, because if you look at the numbers, there is fighters with 2, 3, 4 fights, and everyone's been in front of crowds. And there's fighters with 2, 3, 4 fights like yourself coming onto your 5th, and there's been no crowd. So I guess what I want to ask is the anticipation that eventually you'll have this fight in front of crowds. Are you kind of internally looking forward to that day, if you like?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm looking forward to fighting in front of fans. I can't wait. Like, the experience my brother had when he was fighting in front of fans, you know, I, you know, just being in the back of the T-Mobile Arena, being in the locker room, you know, just kind of taking the whole thing in, because I wasn't fighting, so I could, you know, because he was fighting, you know, he couldn't really take it all in. He just had to go out there and fight, right? But going out there, making the walk behind them, seeing the fans go crazy. The fans were screaming not only his name, they were screaming my name, you know, so it was wild. So it was like I was fighting as well. You know, I was just as hyped as if I was fighting. But yeah, I do look forward to the day that it happens. But you know, maybe this is all supposed to happen for a reason. You know, maybe I'm supposed to fight in front of no fans for a while, and then when I get a co-main event again or a main event, it'll be in front of fans. So that'll probably be better.
What is the essential? Obviously, the Marquez fight is of paramount importance right now. But what is the goals or the objectives for Kyle Daukaus in 2022? What's the plan for this calendar year specifically?
Just to keep winning. I know that if I keep winning, that I'll be undeniable to fighting guys that are ranked. Although I have to take it one fight at a time, and I am. I'm also taking it one day at a time and just trying to be the best fighter I can be today, and just be the best that I can be every single day. But I do seriously believe that I will be top 10 come the end of this year, if not, you know, earlier.
Fantastic. Well, it's a very, very good fight. Very, very happy to see you back in action. Obviously, it's always a disappointment when fighters get not only one cancelled fight but 2 scheduled for the same date. So it's nice to see you back in action, and I very much thank you for your time. This
man, thank you. I really appreciate the time for you too as well, man.
Before we finish, Kyle, how can people find you on social media, and any sponsors or anything you want to shout out? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, so you can just follow me at Kyle Daukaus. I'm also on Instagram. It's Kyle_Daukaus. Couple sponsors. I actually just have 2 for right now. The first one is Performance Meal Prep. You know, they're just like a Philly-based company that's they kind of just make all their stuff local. It's all locally sourced, and it's all not like non-processed and stuff like that. So they've been feeding me for all camp. I feel great. My weight's good. Everything's good. And also Fuel Hunt is another company that's a sponsor of mine. They're a great, you know, clothing company that have kind of taken me on and my brother, and they actually started our own line, which is this shirt right here, the blue collar brawlers that we have. So yeah, you can head over there, use the code word. You can just use like a promo code Daukaus, and you get, I think, like 10 to 15% off. And you can check out the Blue Collar Brawler, label, and get some other stuff as well. They have great training gear, they have great clothes and everything. So yeah.